What's up, everybody? It is March 27th. Matt Bruning here with another episode of Spring Reports. We had a ton of SEC news in this one, a couple game scrimmages, but really was only able to find some really good notes on Ohio State. If you were following me this weekend, you got some of those updates. Also got some insider stuff that I wish I could share, but I'll give you guys some of the notes on what I was told. But let's jump into it. A ton of SEC and scrimmage notes for you guys here on March 27th. Though I mentioned we have a ton of SEC notes, we are going to start in the Pac-12 with Washington State. So Washington State has had a couple practices in right now, and Cam Ward has been what has been described is okay. He's been improving every single week. In this last practice, he went 17 of 24, and his ceiling, they feel like, just has still not been hit. Through three practices, they just feel like he kind of looks like the same guy from last year, who we talked a lot about on this network, is kind of like hitting these check down throws and a lot of short stuff, but not really challenging down the field. They feel like there's another gear that he needs to hit. He just hasn't quite got there. The first team offense behind Ward, you've got Nakia Watson at running back, Lincoln Victor at the H, Peters at the Y, and Smithenson at the Z. Lincoln Victor has been the standout wide receiver so far of the three spring practice reports that I was able to find. Moving on over now to a ton of SEC notes. We're going to go to Alabama. There is still not a ton coming out of Alabama. And a lot of this, I will give them credit. The Alabama beat reporters have openly said it's because they were having to cover the basketball team because of their run in the NCAA tournament. But most of them will be there to give updates and some more interviews with Nick Saban and the coaching staff as of Monday. So hopefully this coming week today, we will get a ton more news coming out of Alabama. But the stuff I was able to find, there seems to be a lot of praise coming the way of JUCO transfer Malik Benson. He's been getting a lot of love. They've said that he has been impressing in camp. You can tell he is working extremely hard to, and I quote, be the star of this offense. On over to Florida. I have a ton of notes for you guys here on Florida. Went through a couple different practice reports. So Jack Miller gave an interview recently saying how he had a lot to prove this year, but is still kind of struggling some in the practices. Montrell Johnson has had a couple fumbles this spring, but Andy Jean, freshman wide receiver, continues to be phenomenal through practice. They believe that come week one in Salt Lake City, Andy Jean will be on the field for the Florida Gators. So that is massive. They have talked about how he just looks extremely polished. If you were to just show up to practice not knowing anything about the Florida program, you would think he is a multi-year starter. He is right up there with Ricky Pearsall, who remains the top wide receiver so far this spring. So a ton of praise coming freshman Andy Jean's way. Arlis Boardingham is also getting some love here. They've talked about his athleticism and his instincts as a pass catcher. They really think that he's going to be out there a ton on passing downs and could be a strong option, especially in 12 personnel, and might be a guy that gets targeted quite a bit with defenses possibly shifting toward Ricky Pearsall. So Arlis Boardingham, a name to watch. A couple other things here, and this one really interesting to me. The reports have been that Jack Miller has kind of been struggling, but this latest report has come out and said that him and Graham Mertz are much closer than many were expecting. While Miller hasn't been great, Graham Mertz has not separated himself. He's had a couple of good throws, but then has several passes that just fall short or are overthrown, and then Jack Miller comes in and has some really good ones. It's going to be very intriguing what happens with this. I would think that it goes to Mertz because he transferred in and is probably going to be the starter. But the fact that I think Mertz isn't pulling away from Jack Miller, maybe it was the injury last year in that bowl game that really kind of saw, Jack struggle here. But I don't love that Mertz has not been able to separate himself. I actually think that's actually really bad news if you're a Florida fan, because you want a quarterback here to kind of separate himself and be the guy. And the fact that, let's be honest. We all have a bad taste in our mouth because of what Jack Miller did in that bowl game. Maybe he is the guy. Maybe he is going to be that good. But those are both apparently the quarterback battle is really close. There have some practices. Supposedly they had a practice on Saturday. I could not find anything on it. I will try and dig deeper. And maybe we can do that maybe we'll do another report later Monday night or on Tuesday. But I couldn't find much on it. But they do have another spring practice, like a actual scrimmage coming up this week. Maybe we'll get more out of that. Auburn, there wasn't much to go on. A lot of people seem to be very happy with the way Hugh Freeze is running this offense. I feel like it's projected that Robbie Ashford is going to be the starter of Auburn. Don't sleep on TJ Finley, who is getting a lot of love for how well he has been as a passer in this offense. Now, we know in the past, Hugh Freeze has had these quarterbacks that he likes to use running the ball and passing the ball, which might be why we're leaning so heavily toward Robbie Ashford. But TJ Finley is getting a ton of love for how he's been able to pass the ball and has by far been the better passer for Auburn. Moving over to Georgia, not a lot here. We know Pierce Spurlin is out with an injury. Lawson Luckie has strung together some very good practices as of late and has been getting a ton of reps and apparently been making the most of them. Now, Georgia has become tight end you, right? We know Brock Bowers is going to be there. Oscar Delp's probably going to be the two, so we probably won't see a ton of Luckie this year. But I do think it is interesting. He's probably going to jump Spurlin, and that is solely because of the injury, but something to watch out for. Carson Beck, from all reports, seems to be apparently the leader in the quarterback competition, though it has been reported that there's still a lot of time to go in spring, and we have the whole fall camp. So nothing's settled yet, and I don't think it will. I don't think Kirby wants Brock Vandagriff to transfer out, even if he doesn't win the job, because he wants that quarterback depth. We'll see what happens. We have seen reports and rumors that other teams are actively recruiting Brock Vandagriff to jump into the portal. So we'll see if he does do that. If Beck seems to be the leader heading out of spring, as of now, that is what it appears to be. And last but not least, at the running back room, Kendall Milton and Branson Robinson have been getting all of the runs with the ones, as has Carson Beck. And Kendall Milton has come out and said that he's excited to be the lead dog this year. We'll see if he sticks that. Branson Robinson is an extremely talented running back, but as of now, if Milton can stay healthy, which is a big issue with him as of late, he has a chance to really surprise people this year. Kentucky. Barian Brown has gotten faster. That is one of the main reports coming out of this camp. I didn't think it was possible. A guy who you would probably argue was the best returner last year in all of college football is now looking faster on the college football field. On top of that, the biggest difference in Kentucky camp this year has been talked about Devin Leary's accuracy. There was a total of 2 drops in practice the other day, one by Tavion Robinson, and the other one wasn't technically a drop. It was an interception. That is how good Leary has been. Dane Key, Barian Brown, and Tavion Robinson have praised Devin Leary and his accuracy in getting them the ball and allowing them to do work after the catch. We could see a very interesting offense here for Kentucky. Now, I know different offensive line, new offensive coordinator might be a big difference here too, but the fact that they're praising his accuracy, I think, speaks volumes of what the quarterback play was last year compared to this year. Kentucky might be a good team this year. Moving over to LSU, Jaden Daniels, Kyron Lacey, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas have been the starting offense so far, with Noah Kane getting the run with the ones at running back. With the twos, it has been Garrett Nussmeier with Chris Hilton, Kyle Parker in the slot, the true freshman, very intriguing, with Trey Holly at the running back. Now, that has been the most part. We have seen apparently Garrett Nussmeier has been getting some run with the ones, but it has mostly been Jaden Daniels. The reports are, though, that the ball is just coming out of Garrett Nussmeier's hand differently, and it's noticeable. He is much more improved than what the guy they saw 2 years ago. Jaden Daniels has apparently had a couple nice throws, specifically some off platform, but the focus has been for him to be more improved with his accuracy, and they're saying they're not seeing a ton of it. Again, this is going to be really intriguing to see what happens with Daniels and Nussmeier, because reports continue to be very glowing about Garrett Nussmeier and not so much about Jaden Daniels. Can Garrett Nussmeier wrestle this job away? Moving on over to Mississippi State for the first time in the spring practice report. So, the QB competition has been as goes. Will Rogers, Mike Wright, then Chris Parson. The running backs, Jaquavius Marks has been with the 1s, Simeon Price with the 2s, Jeffrey Pittman and Seth Davis with the 3s. At the receiver position, you have Tulu Griffin, who has been in the slot. Justin Robinson and Jordan Mosley have been on the outside with the 1s. Jaden Wally and Zaven Thomas have been mixed. I'm sorry, Rufus Harvey and Jaden Wally have been mixing in with the slot, while Xavier Thomas has been mixing in on the outside. Going over to Ole Miss, this is a very intriguing report. So through 3 practices now with Ole Miss, Jackson Dart has been getting almost all the work with the first and second group, with Walker Howard getting reps with the 3s. You might say, well, Matt, I thought this was supposed to be a quarterback competition between Jackson Dart and Spencer Sanders. Spencer Sanders, for the first time in the spring practices, has shown up on Saturday morning in full pads, but was a limited participant. He has not been taking snaps, but he has been in for designed runs for either himself or the running back. He is still recovering from whatever shoulder injury he suffered last year. He has yet to take a pass, folks. Not saying that this means Jackson Dart is going to be the starter, but I do think this has to be a little bit concerning that we are 3 practices in and Spencer Sanders is just now putting on the pads. He's not throwing the ball, and they're only using him in designed runs for himself or the running backs. That probably changes as his shoulder gets healthy and we move into fall camps. But we'll see. I think this really helps out Jackson Dart continue to have a stranglehold on that job. The main receiver standing out so far in spring for Ole Miss has been Dayton Wade, and Ulysses Bentley IV has been very impressive as well, outside of obviously all of our favorite running back, Quinshon Judkins. Going on over to Tennessee, the Oregon transfer Dante Thornton has still not been in uniform. He has been in strength and conditioning. They did see him outdoors for a little bit, but it is believed to be a hamstring issue for him. He has been running a little bit of routes here and there. They believe that it happened at some point in practice. Freshman running back Cam Selden was in a non-contact jersey this past practice. He was involved a little bit in individual drills. They did see him in the backfield a little bit, which they believe is positive. And all the reports are that it is just a minor precautionary thing, that he is not suffering from anything. But they are still getting him out there to work on his technique and fundamentals at the running back position. So he's not really losing a ton of work there at the running back position, just not getting hit. Moving on over to Texas A&M. So the Aggies do not have a ton of receivers on scholarship right now. Micah Tease, Raymond Contrell are both been at practice, but star wide receiver Evan Stewart, if you did not see it, suffered an injury and has been wearing a boot on his right foot. He has also been seen in crutches, is going to be out for spring. And the more intriguing thing is that it seems like a wide receiver they had locked up through the transfer portal, and UTEP receiver Tyron Smith looks like he's backing out of his decision to come to A&M. He has not been there whatsoever, and they have not heard anything from him. Freshman running back Ruben Owens has gained 10 pounds coming into camp and has been a standout player in all of camp. So right now, junior Amari Daniels and sophomore Le'Veon Moss have been running up as the number 1 and 2 back, but Owens has been pushing them, and they really believe him being in here in spring seems to be a shot, or there seems to be a lot of belief in the room that he's going to get significant snaps in year 1. He's just been that much better than Amari Daniels and Le'Veon Moss. I believe it. Ruben Owens is a little bit older. He is on the older side of this running back class. Very talented. Would not be surprised if we see a ton of him. Last but not least, before we get out of here, I've got to talk about Ohio State. So they had their first spring scrimmage, and it was actually open to the public this time. In the past, it has not been, so I've kind of revealed things that I was told a little bit behind closed doors now, so a lot of this stuff is public. Jaden Ballard had an amazing practice. He's been having amazing practices, was really good in the game. Seems like he is really going to be pushing for a starting spot or being more heavily used in the rotation. Now, I will give you guys some caution here. Ballard was a standout in spring last year as well. If you remember the spring reports I talked about, he was pushing Julian Fleming were the reports, and he was going to be possibly on the outside. Fleming and Emeka have not practiced this spring. They've been doing some individual stuff, but have not actually been practicing with the team. Jaden Ballard is a truly intriguing player because he has a great connection and chemistry with Kyle McCord. If you go back and look at the few times Kyle McCord has played, Ballard gets targeted fairly heavily. So in a play here, they were splitting reps with the ones, and Kyle McCord and Devin Brown, and Ryan Day wanted to see who could make it into the red zone. Kyle McCord was able to get down there multiple times, including a great play where he pump faked a cornerback. The cornerback was playing about 15 yards off. I'm sorry, not even. It was probably about 10 yards off of Jaden Ballard. Jaden Ballard went and looked like he was going to take like a quick comeback route. Kyle McCord pumped it. The cornerback bit on the route. Jaden Ballard flipped and went deep. Kyle McCord hit him for what was an easy 60-yard bomb. A couple other plays Kyle McCord made is he was in the pocket, was flushed out, threw a nice pass to freshman Noah Rogers on the run. Nice little touch over the linebacker covering Noah Rogers as well. Hit him in stride, almost scored. I believe he was knocked down at the 1. Kyle McCord actually scored a rushing touchdown to the outside on the next play. Ryan Day praised number 6 for his ability to get the offense down into the red zone and execute in the red zone. He has consistently said he wants to get a quarterback in there that makes the routine, but can step up when needed. We saw a lot of that from Kyle McCord this weekend. Not only his arm, but him using his legs, which I think is still an underrated part of his game that a lot of people don't give him credit for. Go watch his high school tape. He used his legs. He has dropped 10 pounds. He's been working with a movement coach. Like, I think Kyle is going to be in for a big season. All the reports are is that he has the edge on Devin Brown. We'll see. It is still early, but Devin Brown did not get down into the red zone, and Kyle McCord was with the offense, and they both got runs with the ones. I'm sorry, I believe Devin Brown got down there once with the ones, and Kyle did not get down there with the twos. Devin Brown did not get down there at all with the twos, and then Kyle was able to get down there the rest of the time. It's going to be very, very intriguing to see what happens with this quarterback battle moving forward with the big spring game coming up here, and then obviously heading into fall camp. Last but not least, I did want to mention that Carnell Tate lost his black stripe. For those of you who don't know what that means, Urban Meyer brought a tradition of sorts over to Ohio State when he first joined, in that the freshman players, not just skill players, all freshman players for Ohio State, get just a regular gray helmet with a black stripe. You are considered a freshman or not necessarily officially a Buckeye until you lose that black stripe. Once that happens, you get the sparkly gray helmet, and you're good to go. Carnell Tate was one of the first. Him and there was an offensive lineman today that lost their black stripes, the first two of this freshman class, fairly quickly, too, for Carnell Tate. Good for him. The fastest other receiver to do it has been Garrett Wilson. I'm not trying to say that Carnell Tate's going to be Garrett Wilson, but it is really good for him to have lost it this quickly, especially with all the hype that Noah Rogers has been getting in the media. You would think he'd be the first to lose his black stripe. It was not. It was Carnell Tate. That will do it for us today, though, for this Monday morning show. Again, I'm going to try and do these a little bit more frequently here over the next couple days because I will be out at the end of the week. So I want to try and get you guys a couple more reports this week. So I might see another one tonight. If not, you'll see at least one on Tuesday. Thank you guys so much for checking these out. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of these videos. And again, have yourselves a great Monday. We will talk to you guys again soon.